and I didn't even know Jake Paul was fighting. So he's saying all this shit. I was in Italy. I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too. I don't know what to fight.
There's a lot of things that Dana and I agree on. There have been personal attacks, which he started. I will point that out. Calling my fights fake, hiring coaches for Ben Askren, bringing in the steroid accusation.
Jake Paul just dropped a major bombshell after Dana White completely tore into him with a harsh reality check, all caught on camera. Let's be honest, Jake has been working hard on his king of cringe image. From the rumors of fixing a fight with Mike Tyson to turning down Andrew Tate's offer, he's become a textbook example of how to make yourself look foolish.
You think, with all the shit that I got going on and what we're doing, you think I'm thinking about Jake Paul?
No.
I'm not.
So what would one...
And I don't mean that in a way to shit on the...
He's making a lot of money.
It's just the truth.
Dana White didn't hold back. He called Jake out and broke down his 4-year plan with the precision of a UFC expert. He exposed moves so ridiculous, they make reality TV look like real life.
The UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, you know. What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing.
And honestly, knowing Jake's team, they're probably rushing to delete the footage faster than Jake avoids fighting real opponents. So yeah, don't blink. You might miss the madness.
Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now.
The leaked fight script completely blew the lid off this so-called showdown, revealing that every move was carefully planned. From Tyson's aggressive start to Jake's cautious strategies in the middle rounds, it was all scripted. It wasn't just disappointing, it was insulting. Fans didn't pay to see a bad rehearsal, they paid for a real fight. Instead, they got a flashy, overhyped farce. Dana White, never one to hold back, called it a disgrace. And honestly, who can argue with him? Let's not forget Dana's biggest issue with Jake Paul, the predictable blueprint he follows for his fights. Find an opponent who's older, smaller, or past their prime.
I always thought that Netflix was crazy not to get into live sports sooner than they did. Those guys truly have a global footprint. I think they're late to the game, but it was a big success.
The performance of the broadcast, did that give you pause to do business with Netflix at all?
I didn't think the event was a great event, but they needed to do that. They knew Mike Tyson was going to bring in big numbers.
Tyron Woodley? Check. Anderson Silva? Check. And now Mike Tyson, a legend who, let's face it, is more known for his cannabis empire these days than his boxing career. Jake isn't after real competition, he's after headlines. But what happens when he faces someone his own age and skill level? Well, we've already seen it. He loses. Tommy Fury proved that.
I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, you know, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.
And then there's the cherry on top, Jake's callouts to Canelo Alvarez and Alex Pereira. Let's be real, these aren't real challenges, they're just clout chases. Everyone knows these fights will never happen, but Jake keeps calling them out to stay in the spotlight. Dana sees through it, and so do the fans. They're fed up with the same old gimmicks and repetitive formula. How many times can you pull the same stunt before people stop tuning in? Jake's strategy isn't changing, and it's starting to get painfully obvious. The frustration is building.
What did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Fans who once tuned in out of curiosity or for a laugh are now calling out Jake for faking his entire career. The gimmicks, the scripted fights, the empty theatrics, it's all starting to wear thin. Even Dana, who usually holds back his sharpest criticism for UFC's rivals, can't stay silent anymore. He's calling Jake out for what he sees as a calculated scam. And for once, it seems like the fans are backing him up.
Put together a training camp and come in and, you know, I don't like to see guys fighting it. Be a 31-year age difference during that fight. Just, you guys know what I think of that stuff.
Dana's latest round of criticism has made it crystal clear. He doesn't see Jake as a real fighter. To Dana, Jake Paul is more of a marketer, a clever showman who knows how to hype a fight, but falls short when it comes to actual skill in the ring. He's called Jake's career a circus, a spectacle built on gimmicks and fake drama, not real talent or toughness. While big personalities are a part of combat sports, Dana's main issue is that Jake's approach is damaging the credibility of the sport he claims to love.
I mean, all the people that are, You know, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
The UFC is built on one core principle: the best fight the best. Whether it's Khabib Nurmagomedov solidifying his legacy or Amanda Nunes dominating her division, Dana has always prioritized real competition over showmanship. This is where Jake Paul's entertainment-first approach stands out in a negative way. Dana contrasts the UFC's ethos with Jake's tactics, pointing out that Jake's matchmaking is more about grabbing headlines than facing true challenges. His opponents, like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, were once great but past their prime by the time they fought Jake. Dana sees this as a clear strategy to pad Jake's record while avoiding real risks. And then there's the reality TV angle, an older, more experienced opponent to create drama, not a real fight.
Older guy who's smaller than you.
Great. What could he?
It's the same blueprint.
So what could he do where he could get in the same room with you?
It's the same blueprint.
Well,
in
I don't
every
think the
fight.
UFC makes that much money if someone fights Jake Paul.
I'm asking Dana White.
Yeah,
would
like it's
Jake-
just
So he's
like-
not fighting Alex.
Dana didn't hold back when he called Jake's career a scripted drama meant to go viral. The leaked script for Jake's fight against Mike Tyson only proved his point. Every move, from Tyson's signature bob and weave to Jake's dramatic fifth-round comeback, was all pre-planned. This wasn't a fight, it was a poorly executed performance with stage directions. For Dana, it was the ultimate insult to a sport that's built on raw competition and real effort.
What we do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, you know. What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing.
The Tyson fight was a disaster on multiple levels. First, the fight script leaked on social media days before the event, revealing every pre-rehearsed move. Fans who tuned in hoping for an epic showdown between a 57-year-old legend and the self-proclaimed problem child were left disappointed. Instead of a real battle, they got a spectacle that felt more like pro wrestling. Tyson, who hadn't fought competitively in years, still managed to expose Jake's lack of skill, landing key punches that showed just how outmatched Jake was, even with Tyson's age and physical limitations. Tyson's dominance was impossible to ignore.
Where his head's at in life in terms of what he wants to do.
Okay, well, you didn't answer the question. Do you have any interest in it?
I don't know. I mean, Andrew has messaged me over the past few days, and
The backlash wasn't just from fans. Dana White, already critical of Jake's career, doubled down. He called the Tyson fight a stain on boxing's already fragile reputation. Dana's frustration went beyond the fight itself, it was what the fight represented. To him, Jake Paul's antics are a sign of a larger issue, the erosion of authenticity in combat sports. When fights are turned into viral moments and scripted drama, the hard work and sacrifice of real fighters get overshadowed.
He's not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better.
Let's do it. You know for sure that Jake and I will travel anywhere to make this happen. We'll do it wherever you want, under whatever conditions. Clip 15. Jake Paul? Who's Alex Pereira? Oh my god, exactly, it would be a one-sided fight. As for Dana, the fight with Jake? That's just not happening.
Let's talk now. Let's just fucking go.
Yo, but you know for a fact, me and Jake will travel to Romania. We will make this happen. We'll do it wherever you want, whatever conditions you want. 2 brothers, 1 cage.
Alex Pereira isn't just another fighter. He's one of the most dangerous men in combat sports. With a kickboxing record of 33-7 and the deadly distinction of being the only man to knock out Israel Adesanya, Pereira has proven himself time and again on the world stage. Dana didn't hold back. He said if Jake ever stepped into a ring, whether in MMA or boxing with Pereira, it would be murder. His exact words, not mine.
Pereira would kill him. Pereira would kill Jake Paul.
Pereira.
Who?
Alex.
Pereira.
Oh my god, exactly. It'd be murder.
You think
That's
that
what I
fight would
told
happen?
Jake
Well,
yesterday. Murder.
What else I was saying about Dana too is like the
But
boxing.
how's that fight possibly going to happen?
I
That's just
wonder
not going to happen.
The commission would even let that fight happen.
Jake, of course, sees it differently. He thrives on calling out big names, fully aware that these fights won't happen. Canelo Alvarez, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, now Alex Pereira. Jake's strategy isn't about taking on real challenges, it's about staying in the headlines. Meanwhile, Alex, fresh off his UFC 291 win over Jan Blachowicz on July 29, 2023, is at the peak of his.
He's
He'd
talking about
kick
boxing.
his head to another planet. It would be.
We talked about this. Jake calls people out that he knows that aren't going to fight him, bro. Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now.
Naturally, Jake saw an opportunity, but calling out Pereira, a fighter whose striking ability is far beyond most boxers, let alone Jake, just highlights how calculated and empty these challenges really are. Let's be honest, Jake's career has been built on cherry-picking opponents who either lack the experience, physicality, or both to be a serious threat. Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, Mike Tyson, each of these was a carefully chosen opponent to pad his record without risking real damage.
You think Alex Pereira is bigger than Jake Paul in the world today?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Alex Pereira, though, is a whole different level. He's not just skilled, he's downright terrifying. This is a man who lands punches like sledgehammers and takes apart opponents with precision. The idea of Jake even suggesting such a fight is almost laughable. It's like an amateur chess player challenging Magnus Carlsen and expecting to win. Dana's disdain for Jake's antics didn't stop there. He pointed out that when it comes to pay-per-view numbers, Pereira outshines Jake by a mile. Dana wasn't just making a vague statement. He specifically mentioned Jake's fight with Nate Diaz on August 5, 2023, which reportedly underperformed in pay-per-view sales. Meanwhile, Pereira's fights consistently draw massive attention, especially from hardcore fight fans. For Dana, this isn't even a comparison. It's a clear sign of how far Jake has fallen in relevance.
You know, there's a lot of Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time, and I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people
Jake's playbook is pretty clear: manipulate the media, create drama, and keep the spotlight on himself. It's worked so far, but the cracks are starting to show. Fans and insiders are beginning to see through his exaggerated marketing tactics. His callouts are starting to look more like stunts than real challenges, and his claims about joining the UFC are being met with skepticism. Even Dana, no stranger to feuds and theatrics, seems fed up with Jake's antics. He's called them desperate attempts to stay relevant in a world that's quickly moving on. Dana's response? A classic mic drop. I don't think about Jake Paul. He's made it clear that Jake's attempts to drag him into a bigger feud aren't working. But behind that dismissal is a sharp rebuke of everything Jake represents. A fighter more focused on headlines than hard work, a marketer pretending to be an athlete. Dana doesn't just see Jake as a nuisance. He sees him as a symptom of a larger issue in combat sports: the rise of spectacle over substance.
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful.
The UFC is built on one core principle: the best fight the best. Whether it's Khabib Nurmagomedov solidifying his legacy or Amanda Nunes dominating her division, Dana has always prioritized real competition over showmanship. This is where Jake Paul's entertainment-first approach stands out in a negative way. Dana contrasts the UFC's ethos with Jake's tactics, pointing out that Jake's matchmaking is more about grabbing headlines than facing true challenges. His opponents, like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, were once great but past their prime by the time they fought Jake. Dana sees this as a clear strategy to pad Jake's record while avoiding real risks. And then there's the reality TV angle: an older, more experienced opponent to create drama, not a real fight.
Tyron Woodley? Check. Anderson Silva? Check.
And now Mike Tyson, a legend who, let's face it, is more known for his cannabis empire these days than his boxing career. Jake isn't after real competition, he's after headlines. But what happens when he faces someone his own age and skill level? Well, we've already seen it. He loses. Tommy Fury proved that.
I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, you know, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.